Okay. Sure is peaceful out here. Train the muscles, not the joints. So welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about coordination. Wait a second. Stop right there. Have you clicked subscribe yet? Have you clicked the little belly thing so you get the notifications? And have you shared this video with your friends on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, or some other site where you want to spam my stuff? Have you done that? If not, do it right now. Carry on. And some of the things you can do to develop coordination now. Obviously, coordination is a widespread sort of subject. It's a big subject, right? So when I speak about coordination, I'm speaking in terms of bodybuilding or even powerlifting, and how you can accentuate or increase your coordination so that way your lifts, there you go, yeah. That's right, less dangerous, and at the same time you're able to handle heavier poundages. Now there's a few different ways to do this, and I'm going to get to the technique that I use the most at the end of this. First and foremost, coordination has to do with doing something. So if you want to develop coordination, you need to perform obviously the thing that you want to get coordinated at. So if you're throwing a baseball, you need to throw the baseball in order to build coordination. Sounds easy enough, kind of like riding a bicycle. You need to ride the bike in order to develop the coordination to ride the bike. But a lot of times there are ways of tricking the nervous system in order to increase this mind-muscle connection. And sometimes by overloading the system, making the system have to deal with a more difficult task that is similar to the first task can sometimes help develop that coordination. So case in point, if you're squatting 315 for reps or 225 for reps, if you load the bar up with a bit more weight and then just do 1 or 2 reps, even if they're partials, this may help your coordination as far as firing that core properly, firing that lower back properly, and then when you go back to the lighter weight, the weight seems much lighter and you may get a rep or 2 out of it. Now, if this is done wrong, of course, it can be dangerous. Now, another trick that some people would employ when it comes down to squats is that they would just load the bar up with an extra plate or so aside and just do walkouts. They would just walk out with that weight on their back, so that way their back and their core gets used to handling that weight. Because so often in squatting, it's not the legs that are the weak link. A lot of times it's the back that cannot handle the weight or the core that cannot handle it. So by doing this and it's strengthening the core, then you are able to trick the nervous system and build that coordination, so that way you can actually get more reps out of your squats. Now, again, don't do this if you're having back problems. Don't overload something if you feel like you're gonna, tweak something or something like that. But this is one technique. You could do this with bench press too. You could put an extra 50 pounds on the bar and just hold it. Just unrack it and hold it. Do not bring it down. Just hold it. And this may actually help you recalibrate the nervous system, so that way the other weight that you're going to use, your working set weight, will feel lighter. Now, one way some people increase coordination as well is not by overloading through strength, but sometimes they increase their coordination by adding an unstable environment. So some guys would do like dumbbell presses on a Swiss ball, or they'll do dips on the rings, or they'll do, they'll use some sort of unstable sort of environment and perform the same exercise. Of course, you would have to do the exercise much lighter to compensate and also offset the risk of injury. But just because you are having to balance and restabilize in a more aggressive manner, this can help build coordination. So that's why it's good to do some stabilization stuff from time to time, such as, doing dips on the rings instead of dips on a stable bar, or doing push-ups with the rings, or by putting chains on the side of the bar, so that way there's a little bit more instability going on. Of course, again, you want to use conservative weight if you're going to do this, but this is one way to increase your coordination. It makes you refine your groove or become more impeccable to the groove when it comes down to your press or to your squat or whatever exercise you're doing this with. Just putting chains in the bar, because they hang down and they swing back and forth a little bit, and this causes just a little bit of instability, which may help build coordination. Now, another way to build your coordination is to use non-constant tension. So constant tension, such as you're performing a weight with a bench press, it's the same weight from here all the way up, right? It's the same weight. Now, if you put a resistant band on there, at the top, it's going to have much more resistance than at the bottom. So not only are you working within the safe range, where it's basically safer to have more resistance at the top, you're also tricking the muscles to have to exert more force to get through to the end of the movement. So this can somehow trick the nervous system and increase your ability to fire the muscles throughout the range, right? So then when you go to do a normal bench press, it's just easy for you to drive all the way to the top, because once you get through the bottom, you're used to it being much harder at the top. So it's almost the same as that overload principle that I talked about in the first step, when it comes down to putting more weight on the bar and just holding on to the weight. Now, the last way to build coordination is to do an exercise a lot, whether you're using lightweight, heavyweight, whatever it is you're doing, but you're doing it so much that the coordination is right in tune, right? And this is the basis of higher frequency training. When you're using higher frequency training, you are constantly honing that coordination. And just by honing that coordination, your strength goes up. So whether you're doing high reps, low reps, it doesn't matter. You will find that your strength will start to increase. And this is the basis of my higher frequency type training program. Now, I didn't make this stuff up to try to be trendy or something like that. It's just that back in the day when I was competing, I stumbled across this technique by accident, and by watching other people train more frequently, I was noticing that their strength was going up in an exponential way as opposed to what mine was doing. And I was like, well, what's going on? So I started to try higher frequency training, and that's the biggest thing that I noticed after a few months, is that my coordination was going up. And even if my coordination was going up just by a small percentage, what was happening was that I was able to move heavier weights for higher amounts of reps, and then I was getting muscular results from that. So I'm not saying this applies to everybody, because some people, the overtraining effect takes place in a much more dramatic way, so therefore they seem to respond better to a little bit lower frequency. But higher frequency training can be one way to accentuate this coordination, whether you're using light weights or heavy weights. So I hope this helps you out in your training. Thanks a lot for tuning in. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Mountain.